So I promised you my thoughts on We Happy Few. Now, obviously, I said this in my other two videos, which you can watch right here on this channel, that, of course, this is of the alpha preview build that is in no way indicative of the final product. And basically the purpose of this video is to not only say in a clear, concise way when I'm not trying to concentrate on playing the game, it will be pre-recorded gameplay you're watching now, my thoughts and opinions, but also suggestions as to what I think needs to be improved. Now, obviously, in the build that's active at the moment, and this may change as development continues, they are expecting to be in early access for about a year, there is no story content available. So I won't be mentioning lack of that sort of thing because, well, it's irrelevant. It is literally not in the game outside of the intro that we all saw at E3. So obviously, when the early access came out, many people, including myself, were surprised at the fact that it was a survival game. I mean, I've been kind of keeping my eye on this game from the pictures and screenshots and that sort of thing, but I hadn't actually seen any trailers until that one at E3. And I think that might be the case for a lot of people, and some people might not have even heard of the game before that trailer at E3. And the trailer at E3 showed something very, very interesting, an intriguing world, something creepy is definitely going on, and kind of gave a very Bioshock kind of vibe. So naturally, when a lot of people got into the early access alpha, and it was a survival game, I was surprised, I'm not gonna lie. And a little taken back because I don't usually play a lot of survival games. The last one I played, I reviewed for the channel, which was Flame in the Flood. I haven't played it since I did that video, pretty much. So obviously I was like, oh, it's a survival game. Now the thing is, I have nothing against survival itself. It's usually a zombie survival, or a game that is purely survival based. Like, there's not real any story. It's like, hey, you've got a multiplayer survival where you gotta, gather resources, build yourself up, get better stuff, and eventually fight other characters and people and that sort of thing. That's also not the case with We Happy Few. It is a single player experience, so I'm definitely more open to it. And obviously Flame in the Flood was, but it was also not really storyline based from what I played. Again, that was the first impressions. So obviously We Happy Few is a different beast to the survival games that we've seen a lot of recently in the last couple of years. But it is still a survival game. And that is actually one of my key sort of problems with the game. Not the survival mechanics themselves, that's fine. I like the fact that you can turn permadeath off, and I would highly recommend that you do. And also give yourself a second wind, which basically means that when your health goes to 0, you don't die, you kind of get knocked out, and you have one more chance to heal yourself, and if you die again, that's it. And obviously, you would kind of start from a checkpoint, or if you have permadeath on, that would be it, you'd have to start again from the beginning. But given this is a story-based game, it's very important that they keep that for the final product. So what do I mean when I say that the survival mechanics are one of the key issues? Well, it's the regularity of how often they pop up. For example, I just got off of recording part 2 of We Happy Few, and I played for about 30 minutes, and just when I was starting to get into the game, get into exploring the worlds, my character would need something. Oh, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm tired. It was like babysitting a child in a way, because it was every couple of minutes he was whining about something, and I'm just like, my god, and it very much got in the way of things. It's like, I'm trying to do quests, I'm trying to explore the world and discover more, and obviously discover the tiniest clues as to what might be happening here, given that there's no story yet. And I have to keep, like, hunting for water, or hunting for food that isn't rotten, or hunting for a place to sleep, that sort of thing. And it really just put the brakes on the pacing a lot. It was basically like, imagine you're driving down the motorway or the highway, I guess, if you're in the US. And, you're getting a good speed, but every now and again you just slam on the brakes and sort of dawdle at like 5 miles per hour as everyone honks behind you angrily. And then you go back up to full speed again, and then you keep doing that through the course of the game. That's pretty much what this was like. And it was very frustrating, I must say. So my first thing would be that the survival is the dice rolls, whatever the balls decide, whether you're hungry, thirsty, they need to calm down, basically. So what I would suggest, first of all, for the developers is to decrease the regularity as to which your character actually asks for food, water, that sort of thing, because realistically, as a person, like, say you're just out and about on a hot day or something, you might feel thirsty every now and again, but you're not really going to be like, oh my god, I'm dying of thirst until at least a few hours in the heat. And obviously hours aren't going to be represented in game in real time, but it's still going to be less than every couple of minutes, basically, is my point. And even less so for food. Like, you could probably eat once or twice a day if you were really like in a survival situation. You're probably lucky to eat at all, and while you'd be hungry, it would not be as insistent and annoying and like ticking down as it is. And if you let yourself get tired to a certain point, and I would assume this is the case for hungry and that as well, it actually affects your running and jumping. So if you're really tired, you won't be able to run as far or jump as much, which makes sense. When you're really tired, you're not really going to be in the mood to run a fucking marathon or whatever. But it still is very frustrating how often they are. It honestly feels like you're babysitting this character, and especially when the story mechanics are actually in the game, when you're trying to actually discover story, interact with characters, complete quests, that sort of thing. To constantly have to derail yourself to look for water, look for food, look for a place to sleep, it's going to be very frustrating for people. Now, this is by no means an original complaint. This is probably the most common complaint for this game, but it's still, I think, the critical thing they need to fix for the main game. Because the survival mechanics are fine. They're cool. I was a bit surprised to see them, but they're fine. I can deal with it. It kind of works for the world they're trying to build, surviving outside of this sort of comfort bubble that you had in the joy worlds, and then going out to the real worlds and that sort of thing. But it's way too much, how they have it cranked up at the minute. Now, another criticism that I have also seen is the spawning of items is naturally, like everything else in the game, including the quests and that sort of thing, procedurally generated. Now, this is fine, when you're hunting for like, oh, I need some metal parts or whatever. That's a fairly common drop. You're probably not going to be looking all that hard for that. But what's the issue is that you have quest critical items that are proc gen. So you could literally not have enough of the thing spawn, or you have just enough of a thing spawn, but the game won't tell you that that's part of a critical quest thing. Like, for example, the bee suit that you need to complete a quest. You need tough linen and a few other bits to build this bee suit to be able to complete the bee quest, basically. And if it just doesn't spawn the tough linen, or you use the tough linen for something else, the game will literally not tell you that, hey, you need that for a quest. I might not use more, leave yourself this much, bro. Or, hey, this is a critical item, might not want to use it all. Whatever, however you want to word it. But it doesn't do that, and it might not even spawn enough of it at all. Or, it might spawn just enough, so you're literally hunting for the entire map to find this one thing. So, my other thing would be to, like, look, if you have a quest critical item, have that always spawn in a certain place, or have the item that it makes somewhere in the world. Make that rarer drop if you like, but either way, have that, or have enough of the thing that you need always in one place to make sure that you have enough of the thing to make sure you can actually complete the quest, and also have the game tell you this is in some way, have like a key items section of your inventory or something, and have that there so you know that you need that for something. Because if you find the quest first, you'll know, oh, I need tough linen. If I find any, I won't use it for anything else. But obviously you might not find it until ages after you've used the tough linen, and while you've used it all, that's it. Procedural generation, you can't complete that quest. So obviously, while it's not a quest vital to the story, this may indeed happen with story items. So the fact that key items are being left to the dice roll is something that needs to change, in my opinion. Or if you're going to have a dice roll, just at least increase the spawn rate, and maybe just warn that, look, this is also used in a quest somewhere or something, so always to keep some on you or something along that lines. I'm not a developer, but you shouldn't have quest items completely down to proc gen, is my point. You should have it like it always spawns here, or it always spawns this much, and perhaps the locations will be different, but it always spawns that much, and it spawns in these types of locations, that sort of thing. But other than that, We Happy Few is looking really, really promising, as obviously the build that we have at the moment is alpha. meaning extraordinarily early development. Now, they might be further ahead in development than what they've given us, but the build they have is alpha. So, apart from these complaints, some of, they are pretty serious complaints, but apart from these things, the game is looking really, really good. I love the worlds and just how messed up everything is, and even though there's no story, there's still hints of something going on. For example, I was wandering about in my most recent video, and there's like a megaphone blasting sort of propaganda at people. How like, oh, what do you do if you come across a downer? And it's like, oh, chase them, bring them down, give them their joys as fast as you can, and they'll be right as rain. And then if the joy doesn't work, it goes into this long list of what you should do. Like, oh, sad emotions are contagious, so if the downer isn't improved by their joy, then obviously it pretty much tells you to get rid of them. So there's definitely a sort of Orwellian feel to things going on here, and also I was imagining later on in the game you'd have, like, perhaps you have to go on your joy, because there's also like, oh, if you go to a doctor, they'll be happy to fix you up, but they will check your joy levels and make sure they are where they should be. So I'd imagine there's going to be sections of the game where you see the world as it actually is, all crepid and, dilapidated and that sort of thing, and then you take the joy so you can go see the doctor, and all of a sudden things are bright and shiny, and it's going to be a really interesting juxtaposition, I feel. So the world itself I love, and the main character seems balmy as fuck. I have to say, he is really, really kind of interesting and weird, and I want to know what's going on with this world. So the game, the base core game, like the concept and the theme, that is on point, and I look forward to seeing the story when the game actually comes out. But these other two main bugbears are really dragging it down. But the base of what they have is fantastic, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. So fingers crossed that they hear these criticisms not only from myself, from other players as well, and implement them for the final product, because I feel like We Happy Few could be a really unique and interesting experience. It's not even just your character and the world that gives you this feeling of unease, it's how even the random people you run into, they don't seem perturbed by the weird things that you're saying, because, well, they're completely off in their own worlds. They're saying their own weird things and wandering around, and then there's people who are completely lost sense of reality. For example, there's this guy who's like, oh, I'm a secret agent, and these are my companions, and they're just dolls, and they ask you to rescue one of them because it's been kidnapped or whatever, and then it's been injured, it needs a first aid kit and stuff like that. So there's definitely something really bizarre and weird going on with this world that I want to discover. So while I was initially a bit like, a bit disappointed with We Happy Few that it is a survival based game rather than just being like, hey, this is single player, linear-ish with some exploration elements, Bioshock style story experience, it's like, oh yeah, it is a story, but it's also procedural generation and survival and discovering what's going on, and obviously story and stuff like that. So I feel like this is a game for people who really love survival games but are perhaps sick of zombie ones, or just survive in a multiplayer arena style of thing. But also for people who, like myself, perhaps not keen on survival, but still want to dive into this world, which even in its early stage is really interesting. And perhaps even from there we can get more single-player survival experiences because of the success of We Happy Few. Because while many people were disappointed with it, I still feel like there's a great game to be discovered here. And for myself, it's going to be a toleration of the... is toleration a word? I'm going to tolerate the survival mechanics. And if they were just tweaked a bit, that would be great. Perhaps even have a couple of settings, have like, you can have low survival with like, it's a bit more minimal with the amount of stuff you need to do, and then perhaps for the people who really enjoy the survival, you can have like a hardcore mode or something like that. Perhaps, you can have a couple of different settings, because there's definitely going to be two crowds of people playing this game. I feel you've got the survival guys, and then you've got people like myself who just really want to delve into the story, explore this world, interact with characters, do quests, that sort of thing. So those are my early thoughts on We Happy Few, the alpha build. As I said, I probably won't be playing it again now until the game actually comes out, or until there's like a more complete beta build. I don't really want to keep playing it when it's in such an incomplete state, because I don't want to spoil myself on the game. I want to see it in all its glory. So Let me know your thoughts and opinions on We Happy Few guys. How do you feel about the game so far? What do you feel like the developers need to work on? Do you agree, disagree with any of my comments? Let me know in the comments below, and do remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It does help out a great deal and is very appreciated. Either way though, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.